We are back and ready for a massive year of Aussie Arovos. Today we're working on both the Patrol and the Land Cruiser with mods to add, but more importantly, mods to remove.
So I've got a few little things that I want to address on the Patrol today. Now, a few of you might have seen that over the New Year break, I got to go away and do some camping. I had a good mix of like camping in one spot to really test out the 12-volt system of the camping setup, as well as doing some high country, four-wheel drive mission type stuff just to see how it goes off-road. And the Patrol, for the most part, pretty much all went awesome. I didn't even have to touch my King Chrome toolkit once, which is pretty good if you ask me. I didn't even have to bust out a single screwdriver or spanner, so that was pretty cool. In terms of the camping setup, that was the main sort of thing I really wanted to test out. So let's flash back in time quickly up to the MOKKA River where I was up camping, and I'll show you how the canopy was working and the 12-volt setup.
Alright, so I'm camped up here just outside of Yarrawonga on the MOKKA River over New Year's. You can see the river back over there. And I'm just testing out this is the first sort of test of the canopy really. So I've got it just real basic fit out just to use it and sort of get to know how to use it sort of thing. So far, fridge working pretty well. It's keeping everything cold. As you can see, I've got it pretty well sort of packed, if you can see in there. It is a bit of a learning curve and I'm not running an esky, so I'm keeping like drinks, heaps of beers in there as well. So you got to sort of learn to pack it all efficiently. I have found, whether it's because of the heat, it has been cycling like pretty much on full duty cycle. So you know how like fridges obviously normally cut in and out as they cool and heat up. I feel like this has just been running non-stop. So it's actually drained my battery pretty hard. You know, I've been having to run the car every now and again for an hour or so to keep the battery topped up. I'm making do, but yeah, ideally I need to get sorted a solar blanket sorted out so I can keep it charged up. But yeah. Oh, and the other thing of the setup is I'm using, I got this from Musicom actually. It's like a table that goes on your tyres. That fits on a 35. It packs up pretty flat, but it's got like legs that collapse and fold down, and I reckon I could sit on that. Like, it's bloody solid, and it actually works really well because I don't have an awning. The canopy door like covers it, so this is pretty much the setup, but it's actually working well. So yeah, that's a little update for you, I suppose.
So as you heard there, I had a couple little teething issues with the setup, but nothing that can't be resolved with a little bit of fiddling and just some more experience with using it. Now, in terms of the actual canopy fit out, obviously this is the temporary setup. So I've got like Paddy's water tank that he bought. That gave me a bit of water just to use over the trip, and it fits in pretty well. But this will be getting changed, and the canopy fit out hopefully getting done in the next few weeks. Just doing my last bit of sort of planning to confirm exactly how I want it set up, because I feel like once you commit to it, you're sort of not stuck with it permanently, but it'd be hard to then go and change again. So that will be coming. Now, the one thing that I missed dearly while driving the Patrol around with my mates up in the high country was having a UHF actually fixed mounted in the car. So I was just using handheld radios, which did the trick, but obviously to have something more permanent in the car with better range and that sort of thing is the ideal. So what am I going to be using? Well, it shouldn't be any surprise. The XRS is pretty much the best UHF on the market. Not to mention, Paddy has one, and when you have two of them working together, you get way more features. So we're going to be installing one of these along with a little Bluetooth module, which I'll show you what it does once we've got it working in the car. And we've also got a 6.6 dBi antenna to go on the front as well, which I feel like this car has been quite naked for a while in terms of accessories on the front, so I'm keen to stick that on. So yeah, we'll do a quick install of that. I think I know where I'm gonna be putting it. So yeah, let's get straight into it. Now, when it comes to installing the XRS, it's really cool because all the controls are on the handheld portion of the device. So it means you can mount the radio portion wherever you want. It can be behind the dash, out of sight, or on the floor. And in the case of my model, the XRS 390C, they're actually IP67 rated, so that makes them, you know, pretty well waterproof and dustproof. So if you want to mount it on the floor where, you know, it could get flooded potentially, you know it's going to be safe. It's got all waterproof connections for all the plugs and stuff. So for me, I think I'm going to mount it where my old radio was, because I have this big dead space and there is a power, you know, access right there as well, which will make it really easy to wire in. So yeah, and we'll also have to find a spot for my handheld piece, but I reckon it'll be on the front of the dash here somewhere, easy to access. So yeah, let's get it all unboxed and then we'll start installing it. UHF, so nice, very ergonomic.
Now, I ended up deciding to power the UHF off of the second battery, as this will allow me to leave it on at camp without draining the cranking battery, and also it's very convenient to wire up with the fuse panel that I placed on the rear wall.
Now, before we plug it in, I'm going to run my antenna cable. So I've gone for the 6.6 dBi antenna. This is the same as pretty much what Patrick uses most of the time. They do have lower dBi and higher dBi ones for different applications, but we found this to be a pretty good mix whether we're out in the open or in the mountainous high country sort of area. So that's what I've gone with. We have actually done a video before all about how UHFs work and DBI and like all that sort of stuff. Patty did a really good video, so we'll leave a link to that up here, so go check it out. Now in terms of running my antenna cable itself, I'm going to steer away from running it near any cabling that has high current going through it, so whether that be winch cabling or alternator cabling. So just because it can interfere with your comms and how clear your voice comes through, you can get interference. So I'm going to run it down the passenger side and hopefully should come through nice and clear for anyone else listening on the other end.
So with the new UHF all installed, it was time to test it out.
Got a radio check there, Paddy?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Oh wow, it's very nice and loud, the speaker,
Which is going to help immensely in my car. Yeah, it sounds really good.
Yeah, it's very clear. Wow, that's awesome. So another thing we're just quickly going to set up while we're here is we've got one of these XRS BT1s to try out, and now this is pretty much a wireless push-to-talk button for the UHF, which you can attach to your steering wheel or wherever you like, really. And so it means that while you're driving, you don't have to take your hands off the wheel to go grab your radio if you want to talk or communicate. So it's just got a simple button, and it's also got a microphone that you can route and mount, you know, on your visor or on your dash or wherever it may be, so that you can just talk into the mic like this. So we're gonna plug that in and see how it works. So when it comes to mounting the push-to-talk button, you can either use the steering wheel clamp that it comes in, and that just goes around anywhere on your steering wheel, clamps in, and you can press the button, and that looks pretty neat. Or you can also use, it comes with Velcro, so if you actually unscrew the back of this, you'll see that the little Bluetooth push-to-talk button just falls out, and that's the button on its own. And so you can stick the Velcro on the back, which is probably what I'm gonna do, and then stick it on the side of the wheel there like that. And then you'll just be able to press away whenever you want to talk, which should be pretty good. So we just got the mic mounted up, got the BT1 on here, and we're just going to compare between the BT1 and the mic as opposed to using the handheld. So Paddy's over in his car, just over there. So we'll start. Paddy, you got a copy on the BT1?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Hear me on that. And then
Got a copy on the XRS?
Yeah, loud and clear. You pretty much sound the same at the moment.
oh, well, there you go. Because obviously, yeah, the BT1, which I'm talking on now, that's a fair way away from my face, but it's still pretty good.
Just then I couldn't tell which one you were using, so they sound the same to me.
So this is BT1 testing, and this is handheld testing.
Yeah, like honestly, handheld does sound a little bit clearer, but they're not too bad.
But the cool thing is, because we're both running GME XRS radios, we can communicate more than just our voices.
That's sick. Every time you talk, it tells me, like on the radio, yeah, how far away you are from me. 29 meters northwest you are apparently.
Oh yeah, it says 24 meters southeast.
And while using the XRS Connect app, you can actually see each other's locations on the map.
So with the UHF sorted, the next thing I want to do is actually not that interesting, but kind of interesting, a tyre rotation. So a lot of people just do a standard, you know, 4 tyre rotation, fronts to backs, so on and so forth. But I'm going to do a bit different, and I'm going to rotate 5 tyres into the mix. So I'm using my spare, and there's a few reasons for that. So let me tell you while we start undoing some tyres. So the first reason that I want to do a 5 tyre rotation is because, as you can imagine, if you rotate an extra tyre into the mix, you actually get an extra 20% life out of your whole set of tyres. So, you know, a fifth of 100, 20%. Add that extra tyre in, you're going to get an extra 20% Ks out of your set. So that's the first reason. Now, the second reason is so that once you've gone through your, 70, 80,000 Ks on your set of tyres, you know how everyone always ends up with that one spare tyre that's got full tread and all your rest are down to like a few mil. Think about if you had to go use that spare on the front of your car, all of a sudden you've got one tyre that's 35-inch diameter and another tyre that's 34-inch diameter, and that's just not going to drive nice on the road. So by doing this, all the tyres will wear evenly down. Now, another reason is that once you've run through your full set of tyres and you go to buy a new set, and say you don't want to get the same tyres again the next time, well, you know how you're left with that one awkward spare that doesn't match the rest, and then you got to try and sell it? Well, now you're just going to be able to get 5 of all the same tyre, and it'll be a whole lot more pleasing for everyone, I imagine. Now, obviously, because you're not doing just fronts to backs, there is a method to correctly rotate the 5 different tyres. So not only have I consulted the internet, but I also consulted our good friend Nathan down at Treadworks, and he told me the best way to do it. So let me show you how to properly rotate 5 tyres. So now we're ready to rotate some tyres, and you're probably wondering where we're going to stick the spare, like what tyre wears the fastest on your car. Now, every car's a little bit different, and sometimes you can look in the manual and there will be like a manufacturer's spec on which way to rotate your tyres. But one thing we can be for certain of, because we live in Australia, we drive on the left-hand side of the road and we do have roundabouts, which means that our front left corner is going to wear the fastest. So think about when you're going clockwise around a roundabout, lifting wheels around your roundabout, all the weight gets shifted onto this poor tyre at the front and it wears it out the quickest. So that means this tyre is going to be getting a rest first. So this is going to be going back to the spare. And as for the rest of the tyres, because this is our first rotation, we're just from here going to be doing a standard front to back or back to front, whichever way you want to call it. So this rear tyre is going to come up to the front, and same for those two, we're going to get swapped back to front. And our spare is now going to live on the rear left of the car. So what this is going to do is ensure that when the new spare comes on, that it wears, generally speaking, the rear tyres wear more evenly because they're not turning. So this is going to just help that wear down evenly to begin with. It's also going to put a nice flat tyre onto our fronts. And next time, in another 5,000 or 10,000 Ks, when we do our next rotation, is when we'll incorporate the left to right aspect. And what that is going to do is not only, give every tyre a go on every corner of the car, it's also going to make sure that our tread blocks wear evenly front to back, because if you can imagine, when the wheel's on this side of the car, it's always rotating that way, but as soon as you flip it around and it's on the other side of the car, then it's rotating in the same direction, but the tread blocks are faced the other way. So what can happen is when it lives on one side of the car is that the tread blocks can actually wear on an angle and you'll have like a soft edge and a sharp edge at the back. So by flipping it from side to side, in every second rotation, it'll mean that everything wears evenly. And so hopefully this should give us an extra 20% life, or it could be like, 15 to 30,000 Ks on our tyres. So I'm gonna try and be religious with this, considering we've got the hoist, which makes life easy. And yeah, every 5,000 or, just over so Ks, we'll do a rotation and then we'll see how the tyres last.
So with the Patrol all sorted and back up to spec, it was time for Patrick to tackle a few issues he was having with the 80 series.
So today is going to be a first for the 80 series because we're actually going to be removing stuff rather than adding stuff. So this summer I was able to get away a heap up the high country, tour around. I threw a heap of Ks on the 80 and it performed awesome, but it is having some issues, mainly with its off-road capability. Now the issue I've noticed with this car while I've been away is its departure angle. Now it's not too bad at the front, but at the rear you can see here this tow bar is hanging that far out from the rear tyres that as soon as I attempt any harder tracks, this is the first thing to catch me out. And if I don't, make it up the track the first attempt, I'm sliding right back in and not going anywhere essentially. It's a winch out sort of job. So this has got to go. I'm getting outwheeled by too many modern dual cabs, especially for the amount of money and time I spent in this car. It should perform better off-road. So this thing's got to go, and yeah, hopefully it's gonna make a big difference off-road. And this doesn't mean I'll never tow, because one day I actually do want to tow, but for now, especially this next year, I won't be towing, so there's really no need having this here. And in terms of recovery points, I've got 2 here on the rear bar, which I'm just gonna have 2 D-shackles run up there, use a bridle, and that'll get me out, no worries. In fact, I believe this rear bar is mounted way more securely to the chassis than this tow bar is, so I don't think I'll have any problems recovering off of that. So current rear clearance, 423. Excellent. And another thing we're going to do is actually trim back this exhaust, because it also is quite a low point and it's already been bashed, a fair bit on the last couple of trips. So we're going to trim that back, and yeah, that should help with that clearance as well. All right, so Liam just worked his magic. He's cut up the exhaust, and now as you can see, it's a heap shorter, so hopefully it won't clash as much as it did before. He even moved the little logo and put that still on there, so still all branding all there, but yeah, that'll go on now, and yeah, the clearance is gonna be much better. So I'm keen to measure it to see what we got. So let's do it. And we've got 515, so almost 100 mil clearance gain just by ripping off a tow bar and shortening that exhaust, which well, that's the thing. It doesn't sound like a lot, and I'm not really doing a lot here, but I guarantee this is gonna make a huge difference off road. I'm actually very keen to take it off road and just not having to hear it go bang, clack, clack every time I hit a big washout or something. So that's gonna be awesome. Obviously, my next vulnerability now is probably the tank, but
the exhaust is just
a bit low, but if you look at what we were... If I hit the exhaust, I know I'm, you know, biting off too much, but that's pretty much departure angle if you measure it from the wheels. So you can see there, we're looking pretty even. I mean, by rights, the first thing that hits is still going to be this rear bar.
But you'd rather that than your fuel tank.
Much rather that than the fuel tank, so yeah. So, nah, awesome, well worth it. Well worth doing that. And not to mention the weight reduction, I mean, that's probably about 20 kilos, something like that, not too bad, but it's sticking out the furthest back of the car, so hope this moves our center of gravity a little bit more that way. So now the other thing that has been annoying me over the summer was when I got stuck because of my bad clearance, I couldn't actually get myself out, and that was because my winch and the steel cable on my winch was all bound up, and it's because the steel cable is really old. It's got heaps of memory in it, so every time you spool it out, it just wants to cycle into a bowl, and unless you've got someone here literally feeding on perfectly, it'll just bind itself up, and it just got really, really annoying. Now, you could go out and buy a new steel cable, but what I've done is actually gone out and bought new synthetic rope. So this is 40 meters of Dyneema SK75. It's rated to 8 ton. This is what everyone uses now. It's safer, it's lighter, it's easy to work with. So we're gonna be putting this on the 80 and it should make a world of difference. So let's get into it.
All right, so what we're gonna do here, so in order to get Patrick's winch rope out, we can't get it all out by hand because, as you mentioned before, it's binded up, and even pulling it with your hand hanging off it, like, it won't come loose. So the method that I heard online is the way to do it is to pretty much use the weight of the car to pull the rope out and free it.
Wow, it's really bound up, isn't it?
It was bound up really bad due to numerous winches where the cable hadn't fed back perfectly onto the drum.
Yes, he got it.
But with the cable unbound, we could let it all out, ready for the new rope.
All right, so I'm actually going to be reusing the old rollers because it fits the bar well, and you can use rollers with synthetic winch rope. But what they say is to make sure that this is clean of any abrasions or anything that could have been caused from the steel cable. So we're just going to bring this inside, put on the wire wheel, and just wire wheel down all these rollers so everything is nice and clean and ready for the new rope.
We ended up putting the individual rollers on the lathe because there were some deep marks, but we managed to clean them all up and re-grease them, ready for some winching.
All right, so that's all the cable wound up. This thing probably weighs, yeah, close to 10 kilos, maybe even more, and this less than 1. So definitely a big bit of weight saving just in that alone. And along with my new 40 meters of Dyneema rope, we've got a new hook to go on as well. So the old one was a bit old and it didn't have that nice latchy thing that actually, keeps stuff in it. So yeah, this will be awesome.
And the last step was to feed on the winch rope while on a load. Liam guided all the rope on properly under tension so that nothing would bind up when I go to use it next.
All right, so all the winch rope's on, thanks to Liam. We've got 40 meters on there, and honestly, we still have plenty of room. We probably could have gone the next size up to 11 mil rope. This is only 10 mil rope, but yeah, we could have gone 11 and we still would have had plenty of room. But it's awesome knowing I've got 40 meters of winch rope now on the winch. So yeah, can definitely get you out of a bind. So with that being done, that's it for today's episode. Liam got a heap done, I got a heap done, and yeah, we're getting really close to these cars, getting ready for their big trips this year. So get subscribed, stay tuned, because there's a hell of a lot more coming.